All right, let's welcome in one half of the duo from Guns in the 701. There he is. Look at that. Just in time. Clay pops up. Look at that. JD and Clay in with us here as usual on a Monday afternoon at 12:30. It's our In the Crosshairs segment with JD and Clay. And Clay, can you hear us?
Uh-oh. Oh, he's fashionably late. But I think
he's plugging in. We've got visual. We've got them.
Yeah, we do. We're like fighter planes now. I got visual.
Oh, no. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll let Clay work things out there for him in just a moment. He'll join us. I'm not worried about that. So let's jump right to the first topic here we got this week, JD. Nebraska lawmakers now passed a permitless concealed carry gun bill. Tell the viewers a little bit about this.
Yeah, it's it's kind of they call it constitutional carry, but it's really permitless carry, and it's not like North Dakota's where they can't. I don't believe you can if you're out of state and you come in here, because we just passed that where you can do that now if you're from out of state and come in here and carry. But you don't need a permit for it anymore. It doesn't change anything about the background check or none of that. Because you still obviously you can't do it if you got a mental history, if you're barred from legally owning firearms. And
sure.
It's some people were mad about it, but I think it's great. Every state should have this. And now we're over a majority. Well, not yet. The governor Pillin still has to sign it, but he pretty much said I'm signing it. So we're over 50% of the states in the U.S. are now constitutional carry or permitless carry, whichever we.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
There we got you, Clayton.
It's in these Zoom settings, but okay, we'll have to get this baby figured out.
Yeah, we were just hitting on the constitutional carry down there in Nebraska. It's still yet to be signed, but
yeah, governor says he's going to sign it the way it sounds, so that's good to hear.
That's what I was just telling Jay. Jay, and go ahead, Jay. I'm sorry.
How many states are we up to in the union now that have constitutional carry?
26, as far as I know.
It is 26.
They were the 26th. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Florida was 26, and Nebraska.
Well, I guess these guys will be 27 then when it's done. Yep.
South Carolina's trying to catch up.
It's over half, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, right. Of course, it was opposed. The cities of Omaha and Lincoln, where they say the majority of quote gun violence occurs. That's just violence, but and their police chiefs have the same. They opposed it as well.
Okay.
Their police chiefs come out and said it's going to make the cities less safe. Well, that's not true. Look at places like New York City, or take some of your bigger cities in California who have this kind of restriction, or even more. They're some of the most unsafe cities in the United States, including Washington, D.C., which overtook the murder capital in the United States over Chicago here just last year. So I would say that works opposite when you disarm or don't have constitutional carry of some kind or any kind of carry.
Well, Clay, they always say the same thing. It's going to be like the Old West, and which we were still going to look them up sometime if it really was bad in the Old West. But yeah, it's going to be Old West, and fender benders are going to turn into shootouts, and people are going to get mad at parties and shoot each, which it never does come to fruition. And it's the same old argument here on this, and I suspect once it's signed by the governor, they'll find out that it's not a problem.
So now that it's passed, how many years has it been since, let's say, Florida? Now we've got Omaha, Nebraska now passing theirs. How many years would you say that you go back and you take the numbers from it, and you can either prove that, hey, this is actually working with a concealed carry, or maybe we got to rethink it if it does get worse? How many years would you say, Clay, that you would give it? 5 years? Is it a 10-year exploration? What are you thinking?
Well, I think you could go back 5 to 10 right now, just from the states that have done it. But I guess I could pull the numbers, but I can tell you when I worked for the NRA, it was pretty obvious that the cities and the states that passed constitutional carry or any kind of carry law actually saw crime and violent crime go down. You saw way, way more people defending themselves, and you saw people using them actually for a crime, and the overall crime went down. If you want to reference that, you just go, and the data is getting a little outdated because it is a little bit old as far as the book goes, but More Guns, Less Crime by John Lott Jr. The guy points it out just perfectly, and he has all them statistics broke down. He took them right off the Department of Justice websites and information, just so people couldn't say, oh yeah, well, you're getting this from a right winger. No, that come right from the Department of Justice. And everywhere that guns became relevant, became prevalent, became common, crime went down, because guess what? As we've seen with these shooters, they want soft targets. They don't want any confrontation. They choose soft targets or gun-free zones. So it is more guns, less crime. That plain and simple.
So we had a senator there too. This Jane Raybould said, she's pleading with lawmakers to block the measure, noting that this Thursday will be the 24th anniversary of Columbine High School shooting in Colorado that killed 13. Honestly, what does Columbine have to do with constitutional carry? Because
nothing.
I mean, let's live in a world of reality here. Klebold and whatever the other guy's name was who shot up the school there.
Yep.
They went in there to murder people. Do you think they cared about constitutional carry or a carry permit? They were going in there to commit mass murder. So I'm not sure where these people get off being mad that expanding actually reinstating your gun rights is what it is. Why would they get mad and compare that to a mass shooting? I mean, they're trying to make you look like evil people, in my opinion. That's ridiculous.
Not only that, Jamie, I remember Columbine very clearly. We were both alive when this was happening. We were adults. We know when this happened and what happened. I can remember watching the videos. If there had been one teacher, one resource officer, one of somebody that had a firearm on their person and in that particular facility, that wouldn't have turned into what it did. They were sitting ducks. They were sheltering in place. That wasn't even a term then, but that's what they were doing. If there'd have been one person in there that could have went in there, they'd have both been taken out immediately. I mean, it was clear shots. They were wide open targets. I remember that when they came through that lunchroom.
Right.
I mean,
on video.
One person, a guy like me or a guy like you, I'd have went in there and I'd have double tapped him. It had been done.
I mean, that was actually when the assault weapons ban was going on in the magazine capacity limit. These guys had 30 some round mags in there. And so, again, which we're going to hit on a little later in the show on something to that effect.
Yeah. So Nebraska now, it'll go to the governor's and he'll sign it 90 days later. It'll go into law. What states do you see on the horizon, Jamie, that possibly it could be the next? Of course, the sessions it's coming pretty much to a close here in the next week or two. What states do you see on the horizon that could possibly pass this?
Well, like I said, South Carolina, they're working on it, and they're trying to get that over the finish line. I don't know if they're going to, but another state now, North Carolina, who they overtook their state legislature and Senate, and they can override the veto of the governor there, Roy Cooper, which he did. I think it was this show or another one we talked about. They did override him, and they're talking about doing that next year, getting it done, and because they got the power to override his veto, getting it passed in the House and Senate there, and so North Carolina, I think they're on the verge of trying it, and I think South Carolina is probably on the verge of getting it done. So,
okay, very good. Absolutely. We'll keep an eye on that. Next, we're going to turn to the ATF director, Steve Dettelbach. Now has come under fire for failing to provide a definition to the term assault weapon. Now, despite leading the government agency that deals with firearms, you would think now, Clay, that a person who his daily workings, he would know what an assault weapon is, I guess. Wouldn't you, Clay?
Well, you'd think he'd have some kind of definition as being he wants to ban them. I guess if I was going to ban something, I'd have a great idea of exactly what I was banning, especially if I was the head of a department. But it doesn't surprise me. This guy should have never been confirmed. And, of course, I made sure I called Hoven and Kramer's office as well as Stoons and Rounds in the Dakotas. Didn't seem to matter. They voted him in anyway. They should have never voted for this guy. He's an anti-gunner. He hates the Second Amendment. He's on record all over the place. It ain't his first rodeo in this. And he has zero clue by his own admission. When he was asked by this, I found it interesting. Representative Jake Esley, he's from Texas, a Republican. He asked him to define an assault weapon in 15 seconds. Well, that guy's a 20-year military veteran. And, of course, he had a little bit of experience with firearms and self-defense. Well, the director answered, I'll go shorter than that because, honestly, if Congress wishes to take that up, I think Congress would have to do the work. But we would be there to provide technical assistance. I, unlike you, by his own admission, am not a firearms expert to the same extent that you may be, but we have people at the ATF who can talk about velocity of firearms, what damage, what different kinds of firearms cause, and whatever determination you choose to make that would be an informed one. That was his answer. So he knows nothing of firearms, but he's leading the most powerful, I guess, agency other than probably the FBI when it comes to firearms and firearms regulations. And he himself is pushing for an assault weapons ban that he can't define himself and wants Congress to take over on that. And then he'll direct the ATF guys to, give their insight. Well, we've seen what they did on pistol braces, seen what they did on bump stocks. This is not good.
So Clay, a couple things caught my ear here when you're talking the velocity of firearms and what different kinds of firearms, the damage they can cause. Velocity. So now we're going to ban firearms on the velocity of their bullets, because if that's the case, Biden thinks they go 4 times faster than anything else, which is complete bunk. He's another guy who doesn't know anything about them and wants to ban them. And the damage they caused, well, if that's the case, I mean, the 30-06 deer hunting rifle will do far more damage to you than the 223 round that's fired out of an AR-15.
You and I both proved just shooting the 50 caliber, especially at a closer range. Everyone thinks it'll blow something up. It doesn't, because most of the time it's a full metal jacket. It actually punches through and does very little damage compared to a 223 or a 270 or a 30-06. Pick your caliber. These guys know nothing about what a firearm actually can do, but yet they're going to make the rules. This is just insanity.
Yeah, it'd be like me going to NASA and telling them, "Hey guys, tell you what, I'm gonna show you guys what you can and can't do on this shuttle launch here." But I mean, I don't know anything about it, but just trust me. I know best.
I think last week you might have, Jamie, because one of their rockets blew up last week, so maybe that was you.
Elon Musk and SpaceX.
It's my third side hustle there. It didn't work so good for everybody.
Well, listen, since you both are, firearm advocates, and of course, for self-defense, I want to get your take on things that have happened in the headlines over the last week or two. And another one happened over this past weekend. Now, we all know, and I think every person should have a firearm for home defense. I think that is a must for every homeowner. But do you cringe, JD, when you read or hear about these news reports of innocent people? For instance, the young lady in New York, I believe, where she turned around in the driveway and was driving out, and from all reports that I can see, she just made a mistake. And she turned around in the driveway and was leaving because she got shot from behind. I mean, you must cringe at those news reports of these gun owners that are just willfully not using their firearms properly.
Yeah, I do, Jay, and I feel really bad when I hear stories like that. I mean, there was, like you say, there was 2 or 3 of them last week that happened, and it just puts a black eye on everybody for that. And it's not, I'm not just saying for guns, it does obviously for gun owners and gun rights, but I mean, in anything, there's always people that are ridiculous and do stupid things with stuff. Yeah. And as far as that goes, I'm not sure how you stop that. You know what I mean? It's just somebody getting out of hand with something. I mean, you could background check them and whatever. And what good's it going to do if the person doesn't have a background check? I mean, the neighbor said he's kind of a hothead or whatever, but so what are you going to do if somebody's a hothead? They can't own guns, because I grew up with plenty of people who were hotheads and would start throwing punches. But I mean, they've never really broken the law other than getting in fist fights. So I don't know what you do with that. It's heartbreaking. No, I mean, if I have kids, and if that happened, I mean, a person would just be devastated. It's
right.
But I mean,
Clay, you live in an urban, or excuse me, in a rural setting. Well, JD, you do too. But Clay, so. It's kind of understandable in some cases if they're out there maybe messing with your tractor in the middle of the night or stealing gasoline from your tanks or something. I mean, but these were innocent people that just made a mistake.
Yeah, and the thing is, let's point out, as New York, the state of New York has all the gun laws that people want, that have called common sense. None of them work. It comes down to a person. When a person's evil, or if they have intentions that way and they snap from whatever reason, there isn't a law in the books that can stop that. But I'm not going to punish all the law-abiding people. This guy probably wasn't even that law-abiding. Who knows? I'd like to see his background. I'm telling you right now, there's not a law in the books that would have stopped this. I feel for the family, I do. And I don't know how you stop. It's no different than when you take drunk drivers who hop in cars. And I mean, how many years, how many decades have we been advocating against that? Because it's a horrible thing. And they kill innocent people on a road that were just driving. I remember the one that happened over there by Jamestown just a short few years ago and pretty much wiped out the family. It's horrible. Life's dangerous sometimes. There's risks involved. Hopefully you can mitigate those risks. But if you got people out there that snap or are going to do bad things, there's nothing we can do about it, unfortunately. It's just unfortunate that there's absolutely nothing we can do about one bad person.
There's not one person I know that owns guns who, if somebody parked in their driveway for a little bit, I mean, if you want to walk out there and see what's going on, but just coming out and opening fire, or the one girl, I don't remember if it was in North Carolina or whatever, her basketball rolled in, and the guy come out and shot her and her mom and dad. And I mean, this guy was a felon. He wasn't supposed to own guns. Again, Clay, like you just said, no gun laws would have stopped this guy. He was out. He should have still been in jail, actually. You know, there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing you can do for that. But they're going to try, in my opinion, and tie that into loosening up self-defense laws or stand your ground laws or something like that. They'll try and tie that into,
Every time this happens, who do they blame? The law-abiding firearm owner, the guy who does it right, who jumps through the loopholes, who does everything correct. I mean, look behind me. This is how my house is. I've never had any issues here. Maybe I'm known as the crazy guy in the corner. Who knows? But anyway, I've never had any issues. My kids grew up with them. They know how to handle them. I've never had an accident here. It's all about how you treat them. And I treat them with respect. I teach people to treat them with respect. And I think it comes down to that. I don't allow, another thing, I don't coddle my kids. I think maybe that's playing into this. I don't know how old this person was. But I can tell you right now, I got relatives that, they raised their kids and all they told them was how great they were and everything was great. You can't fail. Yes, you can. When you fail, let them know it. If you're not doing great, I let them know it. When they do good things, I let them know it. But you talk about it and tell them what's going on. Don't create this bubble, and then when they get out in the real world, they don't know why they're failing so bad. I think that plays into a lot of this anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's turn to 6 things that you can do to support gun control legislation. JD, you want to start on this one?
This one surprised you, didn't it, Jay?
I figured we'd Clay and I are good guys, and Jay is. We'll help you guys out what they can do to infringe on us a little bit here. So, I got this from Yahoo here. So first thing they got on here: show your support for the assault weapons ban, which we just talked about. Our ATF director can't even tell you what they are, so I don't know what you want to tell them to support. I would imagine their first thing on the list would be, like Clay and I have on our logo, the AR-15, which, again, right, Clay, hands, fists, and clubs account for more deaths than all AR-15 combined. People find that statistic amazing, but if you want to do that, they want you to, contact your senator and congressman 2121-22 HR 1808 and tell them to pass that. Make sure you're really super safe when we pass that assault weapons ban.
I got to add something to that bill. That actually came from the last Congress, but they have tried to introduce it again in this one. It's not going to, right now, it's a moot issue. It really is. Because this new Congress, the new House, is never going to pass one. So we're safe for the time being for 2 years. But, this was the bill, and that's what they were urging you to pass.
That's interesting.
So now so we got number 2 on the list here, Jay. Download the Moms Demand Action app. I mean, you think of that name, Moms Demand Action.
No. What's it called, Jamie?
I call it Moms Demand Confiscation because that's really what they want.
I think that was. Are you sure you were on the right? Are you sure you were on the right website when you had that, Jamie? Weren't you looking at one of those XXX websites, Mom Demand Action?
That's what I said. It's kind of a strange name, isn't it? Moms Demand Action. I'm actually doing them a favor when I'm saying Moms Demand Confiscation because it's not such an awkward name.
Yeah, you helped them.
Yeah, I mean, if you go on there, they got the whole list of stuff that they want to take away from you and make gun ownership almost as impossible as you can. And claim that it's within everybody's right to do that to you, to make loopholes. I mean, if you did that, make a background check so you could walk into a church and exercise your freedom of religion, they wouldn't be for that. but they would be for this to exercise your Second Amendment right.
Sure.
Well, they might be for it, Jamie, if it was a Christian church. Otherwise, they wouldn't.
Yeah, you never know. Some of them might. There's no doubt about that. So
Number 3.
Let's hit. Yeah, go ahead, Jay. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say number 3 on that list.
Well, they talk about joining a gun sense action network, whatever. I mean, basically they're saying, a group of dedicated people who spend an hour each week working to pass key gun sense policies. There's that word, guys. Common sense gun control, gun sense policies. What they mean is take your guns away and infringe on your Second Amendment. We'll just help define that for everybody. And then grow their volunteer base. I mean, that's any group. I mean, we do it from our side of it. I've been involved for years in the grassroots network and making sure that I put volunteers together. In fact, that was my job for 10 years with the NRA. And we had probably one of the most powerful areas in the United States at that time in the Dakotas. And we raised a ton of money, didn't we, Jamie? I mean,
yeah, it was awesome.
We did one heck of a job. And, unfortunately, when I retired, that fell apart. That's just, that comes and goes.
That kind of ties into the next one here, Clay. I want to make a point on. It says, follow the NRA money and vote accordingly. None of the money we raised for Friends of the NRA went to any gun legislation. Right. But the NRA, I think we touched on this before. The NRA is massively outspent. They're outspent by one guy, Mike Bloomberg.
Yeah, much less, but his contributions alone.
Everybody thinks the NRA is just like this big, and they do have a lot of money, but compared to gun control groups and their donors, they're outspent 10-1. So or more. The NRA's power is their members and people who support the NRA, whether they're a member or not, and they do vote accordingly for our gun rights. And these people are voting against them. So, but if you hate guns, go ahead and do that.
And I'm going to add to that, being I know so much about the organization as an employee and a volunteer before that, is those guys. Their, like you said, their key power or their key lobbying comes from the grassroots people that give that $25 or $35 donation or membership every single year, or they buy 5 years, or of course life memberships. But I'm telling you, their donations are not these huge mega donors like they are like a Michael Bloomberg. Their donations come from the $5, $10, $15, $20 donations. That is the strength, and it showed. I mean, NRA has between 5 and 6. That's just the way it is.
I know we're running short on time here today, Jay, from usual. How much time we got left here, buddy?
We got about 5 minutes, I think.
Okay, good. Well, we'll hit number 5 real quick. We kind of hit on it. Show your support for universal background checks. There's no evidence that shows that UBCs have stopped any crime from happening. I mean, I just talked about the one with the guy who shot the little girl. And it sounds good, right? You're going to stop these people. Supposedly stop them from committing crimes. Sure. But like I said, I've never seen anything that proves it. So I'm definitely against UBCs.
All the past shooters, guess what they did? Pass background check.
Yeah.
And if you buy a firearm from an FFL, you're doing the 4473. This is aimed, guys, at your private sales, like me and you, Jamie, or Jay, if I sold
a de facto registration.
And a de facto registration, which that's a whole nother subject.
We won't. Yeah. So, number 6 kind of just encompasses everything. Learn about other gun violence legislation measures and write your senator. So, like assault weapons bans, ghost guns, high cap mag limits, and extreme risk protection orders. ERPOs, they say they work. Just because we got an ERPO on this guy and took his guns, and then they count that as actually stopping something from happening, whether it did or not. They say it does. Mag capacity limits. Jay, I've talked about it many times, and Clayton has these mass shootings that have been with 10-round magazines. They get that. They're going to tell you don't need a dropout magazine. You're going to have to just have a blind magazine and load it from the top or something. They'll try to make that sound like common sense. But and how to talk to your kids about school shootings. I mean, they're trying to scare your kids. School shootings, they unfortunately are a thing, and And I
Yeah.
talked to my kids about it, but I imagine it's not anything like these guys do.
Just like
Oh, I bet
my
not.
youngest thinks he should be able to carry.
Oh, boy.
I love that. I love that boy.
Oh,
All
man.
right. Well, let's, before we run out of time, guys, let's go ahead and get to your poll results real quick.
Yeah, yes. I told Clay, I don't know if you know, I accidentally deleted it right before the show started, but I did write it down. So our
That's what I've got it here,
Facebook
too.
poll, our Facebook poll was, do you still trust that the North Dakota legislature has your back on Second Amendment issues? So yes was 1% with one vote. Unsure was 5 votes, and no was 49. That was out of 55 possible votes. So no massively dominated this poll. People do not trust. And Clayton, why would that be?
Well, only 2 bills even got any traction and made it through, minor ones, but this Republican-led legislature that's so conservative in North Dakota killed or didn't even hear it. You know, they get to the floor and defeat it and spoke against it. And, you know, in a supposedly pro-gun, pro-constitutional legislature.
We'll let them die in
So,
committee.
Let them die in committee. I mean, they just completely didn't they didn't step up to the plate and protect the constitutional right of the Second Amendment. And
So what are we going to have for next week's poll, Clay, on our Facebook page?
next week's poll, and I know I think we mentioned this a little while ago, the idea, should the state of North Dakota designate a state firearm? Like we have a state bird.
Oh,
and we
that's
have a
right,
state
yeah.
flag. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's
okay.
going to be our poll next week. And looking forward, guys. Hit our Facebook page, Guns in the
Later
701,
today.
and vote later today. Yep.
Excellent.
sir.
Gunsin the701.com. You can find the guys there. And, of course, Wednesday night, you're up and live at what time?
6 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Central. You can catch that live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and gunsin the701.com. And after that, it'll be loaded up to iHeartRadio and any other podcast platform you listen to.
All right.
And every
and
Friday,
Clay,
we're on with Mitchell in the morning.
there you
Mitchell in the
go.
morning.
Guys, thank
guys.
you so much. Lots to cover this week. We appreciate your time. And Clay, of course,
Keep your powder dry.
love it.
Love it.
Thank you so much, guys. You
Thanks,
have yourself
Jay.
a great week, and we look forward to catching up with you again next Monday at 12:30 right here on KFYR Plus. All right?
See you, buddy.
Sounds good.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Greg.
Take care now. All right, we are